Okay, that didn't work.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Legit Street Cars. My name is Alex, and today we're skipping a formal intro because we have a lot to cover and a lot to fix. Okay, if you're new and you want to put a face to this fine workmanship you're about to see, here you go. I'll keep that up the entire video. Just kidding, it's gone. So in the last video, I learned a few things, mostly that I installed my front tow hook cover upside down. I would have realized this anyway, but you guys were awesome and immediately let me know in the comments section. Unfortunately, it doesn't stay in anyway because this bumper has been whacked a time or two, so it's coming off for repair and paint very soon. I also learned that there's quite a few of you that really like the red tow hook and red paddle shifters, as I received about 100 messages asking for them, so I'm happy to report that I'll be mailing these out to a couple lucky subscribers, racers, very shortly. Here we are right now. I had to reinstall the valve covers after the episode where I showed you how mint my engine was, so I attempted to clean them, but I didn't put much thought into this. I just used whatever I had in the garage. We started off with the parts washer, then some brake clean, then some acetone, and then a steam cleaner that I bought about 10 years ago when I thought I'd become a professional clear bra installer, which totally didn't work out, and I never used it. Nothing seemed to work really well, so I just moved on and installed the valve cover gaskets and the seals, put them back on the car, reinstalled the spark plugs and the coils, and then attempted to clean the intake to match, and this is how it turned out. Not very impressive, but I had fun. This only took about 30 minutes, and I plan on learning how to totally mint out an engine for a future video, so stay tuned for that. And that brings us to present day, so let's get I've been sitting for a few days and it's 50 degrees out, cold start, and then I'll show you the crazy job that we're gonna be doing in today's video. I was really hoping the exhaust at cold start would just kind of blow the gold tape out of the garage forever. That didn't happen at all. Oh, and this is what happens when I film in the garage. I kick everything out to the driveway, and this is why my cars get dirty. It's raining right now a little bit, so these two cars, they're gonna be completely filthy after this video. These are the sacrifices you make as a YouTuber. So let me show you guys the job that we're gonna be doing in today's video, and something that I'm totally dreading after looking up the work instructions, the factory work instructions, and that would be the power steering pump. And I know you're thinking, oh, Alex, it's just a power steering pump, no big deal. Not on this. What's cool about the C63 is that they crammed a huge engine into a little car, but what's not cool about the C63 is that they crammed a huge engine into a little car. There is like no room to work on anything. So we have our new pump, we have a new reservoir, we have our new air conditioning line. I have a torn air conditioning line, coincidentally right by the power steering pump, so we're replacing that as well. But let me shut this engine off and show you guys what is involved in this job and why some people online have paid $1,600 to $1,800 to have this pump replaced at the dealer. Okay, so I have the remove and install power steering pump instructions for the 204 chassis with the 156 engine loaded up, and these are the factory workshop repair manuals that I'm always telling you guys about. They are a total lifesaver. And check this out. It starts off normal, remove the air duct from the front, take out the oil from the tank, remove the serpentine belt, and then it says loosen engine mounts. Okay, no biggie. But then attach engine lifting device, lift engine, slide to the right. Okay, detach refrigerant compressor, so the AC compressor, and then it says just to put it off to the side, luckily, because if we click into the subcategories, and there's subcategories on everything, so if you don't know how to take off the belt, you can just click on that and find out. But check this out, we click on the subcategory for remove AC compressor, and look at how difficult the AC compressor is on this car. You have to, of course, remove the fan shroud, which is no big deal. I was gonna do that for this job anyway. Then again, mount engine hoist, raise the engine slightly, and then it wants you to lower the front subframe, loosen and lower front axle carrier. So I'm hoping we don't have to do that, and that is just if you want to completely remove the AC compressor. Hopefully we can just put it to the side and get to the pump. So I think this job pays about 8 hours. And if you guys want to get your very own factory workshop repair manual with pictures, with all the work instructions for any job you'll ever do, and with all the torque specs and the special tools that you may need, I'll leave a link down below. These things are only about $20. So click on the link down below. You can search for your car. You're probably going to find it. Get the downloadable version. It's a lot easier to use on the computer. And I'll even leave a 25% off coupon code down there for you as well. Okay, so even though this job is totally going to suck, the parts do not cost that much as well. Of course,
I got everything from FCP Euro, lifetime warranty on everything, as you guys know, and we are using a genuine Mercedes-Benz power steering pump because I don't want to have to do this again. And we have the reservoir and the fluid kit. Now this is really nice, guys. If you have a groaning noise coming from your power steering and you pop the cap and you have aeration of the fluid where it's bubbling all over the place, this is probably all you need for $74.20. There's a filter built into this reservoir that goes bad, it gets plugged up, then you replace it, put some new fluid in there, and you're good to go. You've just fixed your Mercedes for less than $100. So we're gonna start off by removing the fan shroud. We're gonna take off this reservoir that's easy right up on top, one bolt, and we're gonna get a better look at this nightmare of a job.
Well, guys, the easy part is over, and so far, so good. No casualties yet, but whoever worked on this car before me did break a couple of tabs off of the fan shroud, one here and one there. And I'll admit, I've done this before in the past as well. These are very easy to break, especially on older cars. The plastic gets very brittle on these, and they're basically just crammed in there. So be very careful when you're removing the fan shroud. Sometimes you got to remove coolant hoses on trans-cooler lines and whatnot, but it's attached at a bunch of other spots. It's not rattling or anything. So I'm not going to replace a really expensive fan for one broken tab, but there are a few things you should replace when you're doing a job like this and you have a ton of room. First and foremost, replace the Serpentine Belt, especially if it's soaked in power steering fluid like mine is. But the key here is remembering to order it before you film the video. So I totally forgot to order this. I'll have to do it at a later date. It's no big deal. You can replace that part with the fan here. So we will get the car started in this video. But you also want to check over all of your pulleys, kind of spin them back and forth, shake them around a little bit, make sure that they're not grinding or loose, and then your belt tensioner as well. So although it looks kind of crusty, I think this has already been replaced and it's in good shape. But let's take a look here. So here is our power steering pump, our totally busted power steering pump. Check this out. Yeah, that thing is, the bearing's just gone. It's ready to break off. So at first glance, this looks pretty easy. We got a ton of room. We got two bolts right here, no big deal. But of course, it's the bolts on the back side that I think are gonna be a nightmare. And even more so is this. See where the light is shining? That is actually a banjo bolt. It's kind of hard to see, but that holds the line, one of the lines to the power steering pump. And the reason that I believe they want you to lift up the engine and move it to the right is because the frame is right here. And I don't think you can pull this bolt out without hitting the frame. So I think that's why you got to move the engine over. So I'm going to attempt to jack this up from the bottom and kind of just pry it this way and just see how we do. Because I don't have the tool to hold the engine up and to move it over. It's like a crazy specialty Mercedes tool to do that. You can order aftermarket ones as well, but I don't have it either way. But what I'm hoping will help us here is this is the AC line that we have to replace because it's torn. So we don't have any Freon. I'm sorry, we don't have any refrigerant. That's the proper terminology there. You guys will kill me in the comment section. So this is our hose right here. You can actually see right there is where it's torn. And that is right in the same area of that banjo bolt. So I'm hoping removing that line first will give us a little bit more access to getting that bolt out. So we're gonna see. Crossing my fingers, wish me luck. Before I try to take anything apart, I gotta give you guys a look from down below because I know you'll appreciate this, and quite honestly, it is straight up depressing. So here's our power steering pump, here's our AC compressor, so maybe we can get to those bolts for the power steering pump from the backside. Oh no, there's absolutely no room. But maybe we can sneak them out through this side. Nope, there's our AC compressor. Okay, fine, get that out of the way. Look at how crammed this thing is, guys. That is a bolt right there. I can't even get that out because the engine needs to be raised just to get that bolt out. It could be because of my collapsed engine mounts, but this looks like a total nightmare. I don't think we have any choice but to move this to the side to try and gain some kind of room. But anyway, here we go. All right, guys, very exciting news for a couple reasons. So I decided to lower the rack and pinion. I'd looked up some work instructions to replace some other things in this general vicinity, including some air conditioning lines, and it mentioned you could lower the rack. Also, this will make it a ton easier to clean this disgusting thing, and I think I'm just gonna get the pressure washer out since we have full access and just blast it and make it look brand new, which is gonna be awesome. We can do the same with the pan/shield that holds it in. So check this out. So with the rack and pinion out of the way, we have a lot of access back here. So here's our AC compressor, and then you can't see it, but on the other side, kind of like a little above it, is our power steering pump. So this looks to be the only way that we can get that AC line off. You can see I have my tool, my ratchet on there right now in the bolt. So we're gonna remove that line. It's right next to the line that goes to the power steering pump with the banjo bolt. So I think we can lift up the engine and potentially sneak that out without messing with the AC compressor. So if we can leave the AC compressor alone and get in here and clean all of this up really nicely, that is a definite win-win. You know, doing this job definitely reminds me of my days as a dealership master technician. I worked for Mercedes-Benz of Chicago for 10 years. Now I left 8 years ago, and on my way out, I took one shirt. Yes, I stole this shirt from the dealership just to remember my 10 years there. So we're gonna throw it on. I haven't worn this since. Really be no reason to, but right now, I think it'll bring us some luck, or at least I'm hoping it will. In worst case scenario, I'll look professional doing it. There was definitely something about putting on this Mercedes-Benz uniform that just put me in the right mindset to do this job. And if you guys aren't aware, dealership techs get paid on what's called flat rate or book time. So say a job pays 5 hours. They're gonna get paid 5 hours worth of their hourly rate, whether they complete that job in 1 hour or 10 hours. So it definitely is very advantageous for a dealer tech to learn little tricks and little shortcuts. And that's exactly what we did here. Now, I promise you, I've never done this power steering pump before in my life, and I asked a couple of my dealership technicians that are currently working for Mercedes if they'd ever done one, and they hadn't either. This isn't really that common of an issue on these cars. So normally you follow the workshop repair manual to a T. About 75% of the time, you're gonna follow those instructions step by step. But sometimes, and after you kind of learn the program, you begin to use a little bit of common sense with certain jobs. So that's how I knew to lower the rack, because I knew there were other parts in that general area that require you to do so. So because we saved, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 hours by not having to remove the AC compressor and jack up the engine and move it over with a tool that I don't even have, we're gonna be adding a bonus repair to this video. So let me show you guys how I got this pump off the engine and how much room we now have to work with. Okay, so after easily removing the AC line with the rack out of the way, I realized that I was able to get to these guys, the bolt that goes here and here, without having to take the AC compressor off or do anything. So I got those bolts out just simply using a wobble extension, my T40, and the electric ratchet, which is huge here. Get in a little tight spaces with that thing. It's pretty cool. I'll put a link down below if you guys want to check it out. But we were able to get those 2 bolts out, and then it was just the 2 really easy bolts that you saw in the front. So as soon as we got all 4 bolts out, this thing just kind of comes out. It's just being held in by a power steering hose, which is just a clamp. And then our notorious banjo bolt right here. And that's the reason, I think the main reason why they want you to jack up the engine and move it over. But now we have all the room in the world. We'll get it in there most of the way and then fully tighten it once it's bolted back onto the engine. So we're gonna have some fun kind of cleaning all this up, cleaning up the rack down there. And then we are going to be replacing the broken engine mount, and this is a loaner engine mount. I'll get to that in a minute. right, all right. The C63 is looking a lot cleaner. Check this out. So I put in about a half-hour worth of work. I pre-soaked it with the oil eater first, then went to town with the pressure washer. And guys, you can spend hours getting this perfect, but I wasn't even planning on doing this. So I think this looks pretty good, and we definitely have to be moving on here. But take a look at this rack. You couldn't even see that it said Mercedes-Benz before. So you do have to be mindful when using a pressure washer on an engine. I don't directly spray the alternator, which is right there. I try to cover up electrical connectors and stuff like that. So you can't just go nuts with it. You do have to kind of think of a game plan. But I've done this a few times, and it's very satisfying. Everything looks pretty clean now and not all grimy and disgusting to work on. So I laid down this old blanket I was going to throw out anyway to catch all the dirt. And then we didn't use all that much water. It barely made it to running out into the driveway. And here is our basically brand new rack and pinion shield mounting bracket thingy, whatever you want to call that. So at this point, because I just cannot resist it, I have to replace that driver's side motor mount. That's the one that's totally broken. Now this passenger one is bad as well, but with the rack out, you can see we have a ton of room to remove these motor mounts, and I am going to be replacing them with billet engine mounts as soon as I do the long tube headers, but it's going to be a couple weeks till those are ready. So Victory Road Performance sent me out a rental, a loaner engine mount, so just one of them, and do that driver's side. That way we can get to driving this car so I can start enjoying it. I haven't even gone past an 8th throttle with this yet, and it's absolutely killing me. So I'm going to go ahead, wrap up the power steering pump. We're going to put in this new engine mount and then fire her up and watch the engine steam up from all the water. We have good engine mount, can't move this at all, and really bad engine mount. Whoa, I think I could rip this out with my hand. All right, guys, I just finished up my visual leakage test, looked over everything on the car, and we are good to go. No leaks whatsoever, and now we don't have a wobbling power steering pump that's about to break off. So something that's really important is on your initial fill of the system, you want to do it with the engine off and the front wheels off the ground. Fill the reservoir up and then go lock to lock with the steering wheel just to fill the entire rack and get the fluid everywhere where it needs to go so you don't have aeration and bubbles in the system. And something that I didn't show in the video is that I did crack a line at the rack and pinion, and I moved it back and forth just to get all that old fluid out. So that was kind of like my version of a flush. So in this video, we replaced the power steering pump, the reservoir. We did that really bad engine mount, so the engine isn't lifting right off anymore. And we also replaced the AC line. Then in a previous episode, we did both thrust arms because we had a dangerous knock on this side. The whole wheel was moving back and forth. It was crazy. So in the next episode, we will be going on our first maiden voyage where I can actually go full throttle. So there'll be drive-bys and cool stuff like that. But first, we are going to replace our dented transmission pan. So we have a new transmission pan here. We're going to do a complete service. And then I'm going to charge up the air conditioning system, whoops, and replace the receiver dryer insert. And then check out what just came in. We have an E85 flex fuel kit with bigger fuel injectors, and this has an app that connects to my cell phone to tell me the E85 content. So a lot of future episodes coming up on the C63, and I am super excited.
Almost forgot, here is the torn AC line. Check that out. Pretty awesome. All right, that'll do it for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, share the video, subscribe if you're new, and most importantly, have an awesome day. I'll catch you all in the next video.